Hi, welcome to the Friday Flyway Tips. I'm Steve Jones from Redgate Software and SQL Server Central. Today we're going to look at inserting a column in the middle of a table. So I've got a Flyway project here. You can see I've got no changes in the schema model. I just refreshed that. If I come down here to the last one I did, you can see I created this table product. So it's in a migration script already, number 16. Let's go back to the schema model. Let's close this and I'll do this again. We won't do anything there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to design this table. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to insert a column here. So I insert a column. Let me get a name here because I don't want to type. We'll make this a small date. Actually, let's make it a small int, right? That's kind of what I want to do. And now if I were to script this now, you'll see what happens is we create a temporary table. We insert some data. We drop the old table and rename the new one. Like that's the script. That's not often what we want to do, right? Because that's problematic. However, I'm just going to save that and it's going to do all that stuff here in Management Studio. Now the question is, what does Flyway do, right? Because if I look at this table now, let's look at the columns, we've inserted this in the middle of an existing table, right? Because it wasn't here before. So let's look at Flyway here. Well, let's refresh this first. And what will happen is it'll go out there and it'll detect the table. It'll detect that it's different than what's on disk. And so it'll see that new column. And so when I pick this, you can see it has in fact detected it in the middle of the table, right? So it's between product color and status ID. I'm just going to save that because, well, why not? And that's because that's not really our deployment item. That is our schema model, right? So we're matching up to what's in a dev database here. Now, when we do the comparison, now it's going to still say, well, there's a change, and it's going to say pick that, and we're going to generate the scripts. What do you think this script will have in it now? Will it look like Management Studio, or will it just be an alter table add column statement? And that's the interesting thing, is that you can actually configure this, but by default, we just add the column here rather than doing anything else. And the reason is, I'm going to cancel this and not save it. The reason is if I come back to the schema model and pick the comparison options, and then I type forced column order is off by default, right? So if columns are going to start in the middle of a table, it forces a rebuild. So if I check this on and I save it, which is in fact a bad idea, you should never do that. Let's do the generation again. In this case, because I don't know timing of when this happened, right? This is obviously just a few seconds, but because we don't know, we have to kind of re-register and see what's out there and what's changed, especially if this was a shared database. We'd want to know that. So now we detect the change. We're going to kind of check the shadow so that we have a good comparison point. And then what we'll do is we'll generate the script. And now when we see with the script, what we do is we're dropping a constraint. We are creating, in fact, a temporary table. We're doing an insert slightly differently than Management Studio because that did an exec around this. Drop and rename here. And so you can do this. I don't recommend it. Like, I think it's always a bad idea, and people in general should not care about the order of columns in a table. And you should leave this set to off, or to ignore, to not force column order. So anyways, by default, Flyway is not going to cause you problems and rebuild things, but if you really want to cause yourself some difficulties, you can make it do it. I'm Steve Jones for Redgate Software and SQL Server Central.